Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Big Homemade Conversations. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited that we are officially back. Myself and Ashley have been desperate to get this back up and running and just live in constant chaos, as all of you lovely homemade parents will completely appreciate. Weeks just ticking by, and it gets to the evenings when we're trying to record, and we're just like, should we do it tomorrow? And it's just been terrible. So we're officially back. We've done it. We are here. We've managed to get ourselves wrangled. Kids are sort of in bed, or at least occupied elsewhere. So we're all ready and set to go. So first of all, happy Mother's Day to those of you who are tuning in straight away as this episode hits. Obviously, it's happy Mother's Day for the UK. Appreciate it isn't going to be that for you guys over in America or possibly elsewhere in the world. But so I hope you all are waking up slowly in bed with a cup of coffee and no children climbing all over your face. But I appreciate that's probably not what it looks like. So I won't keep because that's not very fun, is it? Either way, I hope you get to at least have a nice long rest today and somebody is kind to you at some point. Does something generous. And so I just thought I'd say hello, first of all, and just sort of give you guys a bit of a, I don't know, catch up as to where we're at. But I think we wanted to maybe start a new tradition with the beginning of these episodes, didn't we, Ashley? We were saying beforehand that
Yeah.
we've always shared with you a funny story from our week. Um, and actually, we thought we might try is a little bit of gratitude. So, like something that we're just really grateful for in our homemade weeks. So, hopefully, it might inspire you to think of some things too as we're talking that actually you are feeling really grateful for. Because I think sometimes we can get really bogged down um, and we can find ourselves feeling a little bit lost. But yeah, so I just thought I best actually say my name is Kelly. So I am Kelly Rigg and I am the founder of Off-Roading Motherhood. And I'll let Ashley introduce herself properly. But we are basically two mums who are home educating our kids. I've got two, and have been since the beginning, so about 4 years or so now. And we'll essentially be chatting big, important things that we think just about mindset shifting, stuff that's kind of real life situations that's going on right now in the home ed community, all kinds of stuff, hopefully, that you will find really helpful to kind of help you to move on and process challenges you might be facing as you're going through your home ed journey. But with no further ado, I'll let Ashley get a word in edgeways.
hmm Yeah, no, it's good to be back. And like you said, getting this in on the books was a challenge. We've made it. And yeah, so I've been home editing my children since my oldest was in first grade, so year two for the UK people. And it's been great. And every year we learn a little more and we grow a little more. And I I just love it. I think that hopefully listeners are finding these conversations interesting and thought provoking, and also just kind of feeling a little bit like you're eavesdropping on a conversation between two good friends. So, um, yeah, hopefully it feels fun and comfortable to tune in each week.
So we thought, as we said, that we'd start looking at some gratitude from our weeks and trying to actually take stock because I think it can be so easy to let the weeks drift by. And we would have felt gratitude through it, but actually maybe we wouldn't have properly taken a second to soak it in. And we thought that if you felt like sharing it, feel free to tag us if you do a post about it somewhere, or just send us a DM and just tell us what you're grateful for. Like, please do join us in our tradition each week of actually thinking about something that we're really grateful for. But I've got a weird one this week. So we had a bit of an emergency dentist situation, and we had to head over to go and get my son's front tooth rebuilt. Essentially, he chipped half of it off, which was fantastic as a weekend gift
Mm-mm.
last weekend. So obviously that wouldn't have normally been considered to be quite a good thing in a week, really. Um, but we essentially went to a really gorgeous place near us. This is a lovely little kind of walk that's got a bird hide and it's really great for spotting loads of kind of woodland birds and things, which is really lovely. And as we got there with some friends, someone had obviously been doing some wood felling there. They'd been chopping some trees down. But they're really wonderful people didn't just turn it into wood chip. They haven't chopped it up into tiny pieces. They've left us some fantastic bits for making dens. And no kidding, we were there from 10:30 until 4 with our very brief, quick trip to the dentist that was around the corner in the middle. And my goodness, they just had an amazing time building bridges and dens and all sorts of incredible stuff. They were playing so many different games with it. Um, and I think that's just something which I always feel grateful for, is when you get to go and play in the forest in this just lovely piece of nature, and the kids are just completely busy and occupied the whole time. Like there was no I'm
Hmm.
bored, there was no I want to go homes, there was like just completely immersed in their fun. And I'm just so grateful that our kids are that way as well, that they really love that kind of play.
Yeah, so the thing that I was thinking about that I'm really grateful for this week in particular really just kind of stems off of what you were saying of like being outside and having these opportunities with the kids to actually enjoy nature, which they do a lot, but you do get the I'm cold or I want to go home, or someone gets wet and it's cold out, so we can't stay any longer because now their pants are wet and it's, 7 degrees or something. So for me, it's just been this weather that we've been having, which I absolutely took the sun for granted before moving to this country. I am now so appreciative of the sun. I love being outside. Any chance that anytime it's sunny, I have to go out because you never know when that sun is going to go away. You have to take advantage of every opportunity. And it's just, we've been so blessed lately with awesome weather. And it's just something that really impacts the kids' moods, my mood. We're able to stay out longer. The time change for us is this weekend. So then, bike riding that the kids have been able to be doing now until 6 p.m. It'll be 7 p.m. before it starts to
Yeah.
get dark. So I'm super excited for the spring weather, for it warming up, and like the opportunity to do anything we can outdoors.
Gosh, yes, no, I totally hear that. I think like the first day that it was truly sunny here was a couple of weeks ago, and I literally
Hmm.
just went outside and I sort of just put my face straight up to the sun. I was like, "Oh, hello, old friend."
That's exactly what I did. Yes. So I took my coffee and I was standing out front watching all the people, like my neighbors, leave for work. And I was waving with my cup of coffee. And the neighbor across the street was like, "Are you just getting the sun?" And I was like, "I sure am."
I am just appreciating it, and also
That's
just
it.
even in that sentence, being like, "Yeah, I'm just stood here drinking my coffee, and my face is at the sunshine, and I am not getting in my car and riding to work right now." Like,
No, I'm also
it's the
thankful for
best.
that.
We are grateful. We are very grateful for that. Oh goodness. So yes, see, I think this is going to be really nice, and I think it's really important that we take these moments, because honestly, the weeks can just absolutely fly past, and I
Yeah.
honestly sometimes I'm just like, what? Wait. I mean, we're both that she said before this as well, that we can't believe it is the end of March. Like
Hmm.
truly, let's say most people kind of suggest that January, February is meant to be quite slow, and actually, honestly, I can't believe we're now almost in like April, and actually we've got a
Exactly.
holiday coming up in May, and it's like, what is going on? Like it feels like it's the summer already. Like what is going on with this world? But anyway, it's all exciting. So thank you for being back with us. Thank you for tuning in like you have been possibly for the last couple of seasons. Please do continue to share it. Please continue to drop us a rating, because we are getting some real traction now, and it's really exciting to see kind of over 100 odd people tuning in within a week of the episodes going live now, which is really exciting. So thank you for sharing it and loving it, and sending us the DMs that you have been as well, and telling us about your journey as you're kind of entering into your home ed journey, or kind of working your way through it. And obviously, as I say, we're not seasons, but we've certainly had our fair few years between us now of home educating, and so we're really kind of starting to build on awareness of um, the mindset shifts that have to happen in order to actually enjoy it and to trust it. And I think the title of this episode being kind of trust the process, is something which we hear an awful lot, and actually sometimes it can feel really irritating to hear. I know I've had people in the past say to me when I was sort of stressing about the kids learning to read or doing their maths, they're like, trust the process, they'll get there when they get there. And you're like, oh, no, right, I need to make sure they're doing it. I need to create the time. I need to teach them how to do it. And there's kind of an analogy that I kind of came up with around this that I thought we'd try and elaborate on a little bit when it comes to the home ed world, which is some seeds need to be planted in the perfect soil. They need to be fertilized every 2 days and watered with the perfect amount. They need to be staked. They need to be whatever to get them to do exactly what you want them to do. Some plants are super high maintenance. And there will be some areas of your children's education that will feel like this, where you do feel like you have got to be on it. You've got to help them and support them along the way because it feels really, really important either to them or to you or to the society that we live in. Um, and there will be some things that are essentially what are kind of self-seeding plants, the things which just grow everywhere. Dandelions, for once. Like these are
Yes.
the things which just like they will always grow. They will not need any help. They will be completely fine to do what they need to do on their own, and they will serve their purpose, and they will be great. And I think sometimes we can feel like that education in this country, I feel like, is way more focused on the first kind of plants. It feels like we're only really interested in these sort of subjects and things which we feel like we've then also got to like really carefully tend. Um, and we can get really stressed about them. And I think that we were trying to think of some examples when we were chatting a moment ago about kind of things which we have noticed have happened all by themselves. And one of mine, actually, interesting enough, was my son learning to read. We were trying to teach him. It's one of the most stressful things when I first started home editing, is we decided, first generation home editors, that reception year, we'd just give it a go. We'd just see how we got on with home educating. And obviously in reception, the focus is on starting to get them reading. And we honestly went at it being like that. This is the most important thing. Everything else is great. Like we're having loads of fun, like we're getting out and seeing friends and all the rest of it. But if we were focusing on one skill, like we wanted him to learn to read. And we spent so much time trying to encourage him, trying to get him to sit down and do it with us, with him pushing back and hating it every second. And eventually we started to really recognize that he was just really pushing back, and that maybe he wasn't ready, or that maybe we were coming at it the wrong way. I started to feel like a failure. I can remember sitting there shedding real tears over this, just thinking like, oh my goodness, we're failing him. It isn't going to work. Like we're just going to have to send him to school because we don't know how to do this. Like we can't get him to engage with it. And everyone's been telling me to trust the process, to back off, to let him get there when he gets there, that maybe it's just too early. And I thought, okay, fine, all right, I'll listen, I'll back off, I'll let it be. He slowly but surely started to do this, what I called secret reading, where he'd sit there kind of muttering quietly under his breath to himself, looking at something, and then he'd go, "Mummy, is that where it says ketchup?" I'm just like, "Yes, yeah." Or he'd tell me a road name or something that was written on the side of a truck. Before you knew it, he was actually reading all the time, but just a word here and there. Dinosaur books were his favorite to start off with. Like he was actually reading dinosaur names and figuring out, like sounding them out and stuff like that, which is crazy. So he actually was fluently reading like well enough to kind of get by about 6.5, with us literally just helping him when he asked. And he did great, and he got there by himself. I know that's not always going to be the case. Obviously, children may have sort of learning difficulties and dyslexia and all sorts of different things. That might not be the case. And this is just an example. But for us, that was a thing that needed us to actually allow it to self-seed and to just do its own thing. Because the more we actually did stuff to it, it's like orchids. I always kill orchids.
Yes.
Like the more I did anything to it, it was just going to kill it. And I just had to leave it alone. Um, So yes, I'm just wondering, like, have you got any thoughts? Like, actually, have you noticed something that your girls have done that is similar?
Well, it's so funny because as you were saying this story, I was actually thinking this was not the case for us with reading for my
Hmm.
oldest. So we had like the exact opposite experience. Well, not exact opposite, but very different in that we, if we didn't do anything, it would have never happened. There was just zero interest in our oldest reading on her own. She was happy to be read to, loved audiobooks, loved all that, but had no appetite for diving in herself. And so I just went with the first like teaching reading program that I found. And it really was like hitting a lot of resistance and just was creating a lot of frustration. And so I was like, okay, I was talking to some people and they're like, oh, sometimes you just have to find the right fit. Like you have to try something different because her learning style might be different. And again, this is the beauty of home ed. We can decide when to switch things up. We can find the right program that our kid responds to. So I started looking around and I tried so many, and none of them were a great fit. Like like she would do it, but it was still just this challenge every time. Um, and so it wasn't until we found one that was like the sweet spot, and that's when it took off. And so I say this, just not that you need to go out and purchase a bunch of different things, but that
Mm,
sometimes um you just have to, like, don't be afraid to change it if it isn't working, I guess.
yeah.
And then the funny thing is, so I was all ready for this when my second one started, to get ready to learn how to read. And for her, it just doesn't really matter. Like, I thought we were going to have this whole challenge again, and she will really just do any program, like anything works for her. Like, she is just so open, I guess, to whatever. So, it's always going to be different. We'll see. My third one is starting up now, so
Hmm.
we'll see what
See how that
what
one
com
plays out.
completely different experience we have with her. But yeah, but in terms of things that have happened naturally, I think one of the, I don't know if I can't think of like an exact, well, I guess maybe with bike riding, kind of unrelated to home ed, but I think that's one of the things where with my oldest, like we kept trying to like push her to do it on her own, because she did not have a balance bike. That wasn't like a thing that we ever had for her when she was learning to ride. So she had to, like, she had training wheels. We had to take the training wheels off, and it was, during COVID and all of that. So we were like really going to do it. And then it was one of those things where she didn't want to. She was nervous about falling over, and then one day she just did it, and that was that. And we're like, oh well, okay, well there you go. So, yeah, sometimes they say they'll do it when they're ready, and that was the case.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that what we kind of like, what we can see sometimes is this kind of concept of what's essentially referred to as intrinsic motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this kind of concept that a lot of education can be produced in a very extrinsic way. So you're trying to get a grade, you're trying to get approval from a teacher or your parents,
Yeah.
you're doing it so that you can get a better job, you're doing it so you can get a pay raise. Like you're not doing it so that you can learn something interesting and new. And this is one of the things which I really kind of wanted to touch on, was this kind of like the idea of the bike riding can be extrapolated across so many different subjects. Like, for example, my son at the moment is hugely into snakes, has been for months and months and months, maybe years now, actually thinking about, I'm not sure exactly when it started, but he um he picked out a new book at this rainforest place we went to the other day, and wanted it. It's all about top fun facts about snakes, and he has not put it down. He has probably
Mm-hmm.
read it cover to cover a couple times since, and we only went just over a week ago. So he is like literally obsessed. And it's really lovely kind of watching them pick up these things. So he is intrinsically motivated to learn about snakes. He is interested in them. He wants to know everything about them. If you ask him why, he's like, I don't know. I just think they're really interesting. And he is therefore reading. He's got this quiz in it that he does with everyone he meets at the moment. He makes them do the whole quiz with him. So he's obviously memorizing the answers to all these questions too, right? They're going to get properly stuck in there. Um, he is really fascinated by it, and we don't know where these things are going. I mean, I don't necessarily then like double down on them, because actually you can sometimes like squish an interest if you get too involved with it anyway. And sometimes it needs to be left to just do its own thing. Sometimes you can use it to kind of piggyback off of it. So like if I did a project now about snakes and got him to make his own fact book, then probably he would do some great drawing and he'd do some
Mm-hmm.
writing, but getting him to write any other time would be like, yeah, no, not happening. Um, so it's kind of recognizing that actually some of these things will just grow all on their own. I don't think they'll go, like, he might become a zoologist one day. He might go out there and be protecting these snakes. I don't know what he'll be doing with it. He might do nothing with it. But actually, for him, it's important right now. And one of the things I truly love about home education is that we allow our children so many more opportunities to follow that intrinsic learning journey,
Yes.
because human beings have a big brain. Therefore, we are intelligent. Therefore, we are curious and interested in the world around us, and we want to make things, do things, create things. Like that is just a natural part of who we are, no matter who we are. And it might not look the same for every person. Like some people might love to make things with their hands, some people like to make things typing on a computer. Like it doesn't really matter what it looks like. Everyone has an element of creativity and purpose in their own minds about what their kind of journey is. Um, and one of the things which I really get frustrated by in our education system is this kind of constant, these are the 12 most important subjects we should be learning about, and we must learn these things. And if we don't, then we don't have a good basis and foundation. And I think sometimes we can end up putting too much pressure on them. It can, yeah, and I think one of the things when we kind of come back to the kind of concept of trust the process, if we spend too much time in that in that extrinsic place where we're putting goals or expectations on them from us or from the outside world, then actually we potentially take away the vital time that they need to build that intrinsic motivation that could actually lead to that stuff later. Um, when they're ready for it or when they can see that it would actually have a purpose or a use for them. And so I think, yeah, it can be really important to kind of constantly check, like, what are we doing it for? Like, what is this point of us pushing them to learn this right now? Like, what are we worried about? And I think that kind of comes around to the point you were making before we were talking as well, Ashley, about the concept of um, kind of society's expectations on our children. Like, what are we actually pushing them for in some of these situations? Like, what are we worried about?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because, research shows that you should allow children to follow those like obsessions, for lack of a better word. I mean, it's
Hmm.
certainly horses in our house, um, because it allows them, I'm paraphrasing this wildly here, um, but it allows them to develop the skill sets to really focus on something and to keep their attention on something. And I think that parents sometimes, like, at least historically, have not liked it if a kid is like obsessed with dinosaurs and they're like, oh, I'm so sick of dinosaurs. Like, get on to something else. This is so annoying, right? Or, you know, dogs or whatever, little kids, blocks, cars, whatever it is, right?
Mm.
And they sort of like poo poo that and say, no, that's not what you should be doing. Like, why aren't you interested in this over here? Or let's have baseball in there or football or whatever. And so I think that I like would have thought that as well myself before reading this, um, showing that like it actually has an impact on them later in life when they're doing like
Mm.
a job and they have to work on a project or something that maybe they don't care as much about, but they have that skill set already in them because they used to apply it to something they cared a lot about. And so they developed those skills to stay in the moment, with that thing. And so it's very interesting to think about like kids are just doing this stuff naturally. We don't have to ask them to do it. They're developing the skills that they need all on their own. It just doesn't necessarily look like what we think it should look like because we were told that school has to be done this one way. And so you really do have to kind of trust that. And just like you're leveraging that, or you were mentioning you could for like the snakes, okay, let's maybe do a project, let's do something. Everything we do is in relation to horses these days.
Mhm.
I don't see a light at the end of that tunnel. I think we're just in it for the long run. But however I can use it to get them to write about something or, um, yeah, math, whatever, history,
Mm.
geography, like we're doing it. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're just going to keep going on that until it shifts and then we'll shift to that. So,
Yeah, I must admit, I'm constantly waiting for something that's going to get my son wanting to write. But like my daughter, who's 5, so she would be in reception at the moment. She hasn't really shown any particular interest in maths. She can't do maths. She's pretty good at it, to be honest. When you do get her to sit and do like focus on something, she will do it. Um, Mostly because I think she likes feeling grown up, like sitting doing her school
hmm
with us. Especially if I role play being a teacher. It's very ironic. If I tell her off and like tell her to stop fidgeting and like pretend to be giving her detention and stuff, then she actually does it for ages. Instead, because she just likes to play like full stop. She's been getting into Minecraft recently, like really, really fast into Minecraft, and I think she's just like really excited that she's figured out how to use the Switch and can like all herself.
Hmm.
She asked me to get her a Minecraft maths book, like I'd written for her brother the year before. And I'd literally spent a whole year just trying to get him through the 30 pages of this maths book and just like wanting to pull my hair out. And she has quite literally done pretty much all of it in the space of 3 weeks. Every spare second, can I do some of my Minecraft maths, mummy? And I'm just like, who is this child? Like, what is going on? And actually, my husband, bless him, has been the trooper with this one because I I don't mind teaching maths, but I do tend to get a bit impatient with it. And I tend to end up giving them the answers, and I get annoyed with myself. So I have to like detach myself and kind of give them stuff to do and walk away a bit and try not to sit with them whilst they're doing it, because otherwise I get impatient and I'm just like figure it out, and I'll over explain and then it just ruins the moment. So he's actually really good with them, and he sits with them and does their maths. And so he's done so much with her, and he goes, I don't honestly think that much of it's going in, if I'm honest. Like, I don't feel like she's necessarily gotten better at maths as we've gone through it, but she seems excited, and that's all that matters, really. And actually, I sat down with her and did a couple of pages a day or two ago, and she's absolutely, like, I said, honestly, night and day from the beginning of that book to the few pages she's done now. I said she's actually properly using her fingers to calculate things now. Like, she's actively working some stuff out on her own. She's recognizing the numbers better, like she's writing them better. And I said, no, she is definitely come a long way. And he goes, it's so interesting how you can see it, but I'm like, I can't really see it because I'm sat with her literally doing it day to day. And so it's just really nice. I think that she is, again, she's intrinsically motivated to get that done. Like she wants to finish it. Like she's actually excited and wants to do it. I was trying to do a badger thing with them this morning, because we missed out on our co-op because I wasn't feeling brilliant. She it was just hilarious. She's like, I want to do all of the things now. And I'm just like, can you just wait until we're like, I want to come and study and do like, a little lesson. She's like, I just want to do it now. I'm just like, all right, fine. And so by the time we actually sat down to do it together, she'd done most of it already. Um, so I just find it really fascinating how like little moments will show you that actually they are eager and excited to take on new concepts and ideas, and they want to learn, and that they are progressing all the time. And I think sometimes if we kind of take this away from just education for a minute as well and look at child development, often do we sit there with our babies being like, are you ever going to sleep through the night? Please just sleep. Like, I need my sleep. I can't be up all night every night for the rest of my life. And then, like, like all of a sudden you realize that you actually have been sleeping for most of a week and you're like, what's happened? Why are they suddenly sleeping? Like, what's happened? What did I do differently? And it's you just wasn't anything you did. It's just because they got older and they were now able to do it. Um, just like my son has now learnt that a little bit of lip service at the end of a busy day out to say thank you, mummy, for taking me there today. I had a really great time is 100% going to get me in a good mood. When I am tired and cranky at the end of a busy day, like hearing a thank you is always going to make me happy. And I don't care that it's literally just been trained into him. Like, good. Like, I'm pleased with that. Let's take that gratitude. Um, and so I think it's amazing to watch them grow. And when we take stock and take this moments to have a bit of gratitude for it and to recognize it as well, we can actually see how much they are changing. And so I think sometimes we can really get caught up with like a 4-year-old or 5-year-old worrying that they're not recognizing their letters and hoping that they're going to figure it out. And we take that on as like this big personal importance that we've got to push them and support them. Whereas actually just keeping on reading, keeping on pointing them out, keeping on making it fun in as many ways as you can, just a little bit of consistency, little tiny bit here and there, sometimes it's all it takes to just keep that gentle pressure onto something that lets them know that it's important, but it doesn't have to be this big, important, right, we are doing an hour of this a week. Like, you have to come and sit and do it right now. Because I mean, I basically developed a system for us back in sort of January last year, which I basically termed the good enough home ed method, because I was constantly feeling like I'm just not enough. Like it's not been good enough. This week's been too focused on maths, or it's been too focused on reading, or when was the last time we did any science experiments? I don't even remember. Like this is insane. Um, and essentially, I literally set a target of like two 15-minute slots of reading, like one 15-minute slot of writing, and it's such low goals that most people be like, sorry, that's insane. Like, that's hardly anything. But actually, the chances are you will end up doing 3 times that in a week. And it's just, for me, if I know that we have done a bit of reading, writing, math, science, we've touched on some subjects that the kids are interested in that they want to learn about right now, like we've done some stuff on history, we've done a little bit of whatever, then it's gotten more complicated as time's gone on because actually it's sustained so well. And we've seen that actually we have managed to complete it and we can finish the whole thing, that actually pushing ourselves a little bit more and saying, "Do you know what, I think we could probably include a couple of other subjects here that we're interested
Hmm.
in." It just helps me to, like, for all of us to stay a bit more accountable. That means also I get to sit there at the end of the week and go, wow, look at everything like that we've touched on this week. Like, we've actually been really busy and we've done loads of great things. And it just takes the mental weight off for me. Um, and if I notice I don't beat us up if we've missed something or if we've not been doing it at all, like consistency is really hard for that subject, then it just gives me a bit of an observation opportunity to see why. Like, is this just something that they're not really picking up naturally on their own? Are they, like, for example, my smallest, her reading hasn't been completed a couple of times. I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. Like, why isn't she bringing me books? Like, why isn't she interested in this? Like, is it that she hasn't got any books she's interested in looking at right now? Or is she finding it really hard? Or am I just not observing her reading? Like, maybe she is doing some and I'm just not noticing it. Like, let's actually just pay attention to it a little bit more. And so I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but I find it really interesting to kind of, that for me, although it isn't sort of just trusting the process implicitly and just being like they will get to wherever they need to go, like without any guidance, that for me just helps me to kind of stay calm and to trust that they will get to somewhere, because actually you can see progress happening all the time, um, whether they realize they're progressing or not. So, like, sometimes, like I say to my son when he's saying, "Oh, it's just too hard, I just don't want to do it," I'm just like, okay, but remember, it was really hard for you to learn how to pedal. But actually, you got it. And now you love riding your bike, right? Like, being
Yeah,
able to read now, like you're loving reading books yourself and being not having to wait for us to read them to you. Like, you're loving that. And I was like, once upon a time, you hated me for making you sit and try and read stories. Like, but you can just do
right.
it now. Like, it's so natural. And I was like, but it didn't get there automatically. Like, everything is a process. And so you might
Yeah,
find something challenging now, but that means that one day you're going to have the reward of it being really easy. And you looking at that and being like, wow, look at what I did. And yeah, I guess it's just, yeah, it's really lovely watching them grow.
yeah, yeah. And it is challenging at times for sure because it's not an instant gratification, right? And it is really like the marathon, not the sprint. And that is really hard when it's your kid and obviously you're very invested in them succeeding and growing and having a happy life when they're an adult. And so it's one of those things where you really have to just let it go and follow the process along, knowing that in a year's time or 2 years' time, you'll see that. And I think that that can be challenging. It's definitely something I battle with in that conversation of, am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? Like, just like your good enough process, like, are we doing enough? And then you ebb and flow. Yes, I'm doing plenty. And then you're like, oh, the next day you're like, well, gosh, maybe I'm not. And so, yeah,
Yeah,
don't compare to other families. But yeah, it's a journey. Yeah.
it is. And I think we can end up really beating ourselves up about this stuff because, much like if your children were in school, you would have very little control over the outcome. And just because we're home educating doesn't actually give us more control.
Right.
Not really. It gives us an opportunity, yes, to inspire them, to support them differently. And a lot of us do hope, I guess, in choosing home ed, that we are providing our children with for want of a better phrasing, a better lived experience, that we are worried that they're not happy in school, that they're not being supported if you've taken them out, or if you haven't chosen to put them in, then you probably didn't do that for a reason. And it's not going to be because you thought school was so amazing and you just thought you could do it better. Like,
Right.
typically, most of us have made the choice not to do it for a reason. And so I think it's really important to recognize that we therefore feel like, because we've made that decision, that we have therefore got some more control over the outcome, and that our children should therefore get better grades and have better opportunities in later life and have more passion-led careers. And like, that's what we would hope for, I guess. And I'm saying that as a person because that's how I feel a lot of the time, is I really hope that it will mean that they will go on to do something which really matters to them. um and actually helps them to feel really connected to their community, to the people they care about, they find really good people who they really want to be friends with, like all of these stuff things, right? Like I want so much for them. I guess I have really struggled to access and have worked so hard to find, like, despite the experience I had in school. And so, all that aside, I think sometimes we can some sort of look at their careers, look at what they're learning, and expect them to be able to do as good as, if not better, and be able to go on and do these really incredible things. But we have to kind of remember that whilst that might be possible, that we are not in charge of that trajectory.
Yes.
We can offer opportunity, we can lead a horse to water, you cannot make it drink. Our children will want to do things, they will not want to do things. Some things we will consider to be important, they will consider to be pointless and irritating and why? I don't even know why you're teaching me this. Or some of the things that we staunchly believe in, actually they will go on to really not believe in. And essentially we want them thinking critically like that. We want them making those decisions about their lives. We don't want them just following in our footsteps because we want them to do what they want to do with their life and the way they feel. And so I often just have to keep kind of reminding myself whenever I feel like could they be like would they be the equivalent of, could they be behind? Are they actually ahead? Whatever it is that they're capable of. I really want to kind of constantly say to myself, if they don't do their GCSEs at 16 and they want to do them when they're 18 or they want to do them when they're 20, and I can see that they are still invested in their learning, they're getting maybe some work experience, they're getting out there and doing things they want to do, they're doing some volunteering, they do whatever they want to do, right? So if they're still actively participating in the world, awful. I really don't mind. You get the qualifications when they matter to you, when they feel right to you, when they're going to be
Hmm.
useful to you and help you to move on to the next stage in your life. Am I kicking them out at 18? No, I am not. Me and my husband were laughing about graduating them at. So what graduation look like in the home ed ones? Just packing the bags and being like, good you guys, we're out. Bye, I quit. Yes, so like as long as I can see them still passionately pursuing whatever it is that they want to be pursuing, I will support them for as long as I can and help them to get out into the world and to get started. Um, and yes, of course, I know and I hope for, and I know that they will, because every teenager gets to the point where they're sick of their parents and wants to leave and go off and do their own thing, hopefully, that they will get that bug to kind of be like, yes, I want to go and do this. Like I've got the ambition and the fire to go follow whatever I want to do. And yes, that's all we can hope for. But the truth is that I can't control that. They might not want to do that at all. They might not have a passionate career. They might have something they just want to do that just makes life a bit easier and just have a really chilled life and do whatever they want to do. Like it's not up to us. Um,
Yeah.
and so I think sometimes I just have to remind myself that I have to support them and give them as much opportunity as I can, teach them what I know and what they're willing to take in, and some of it I will have to let go. And I guess it's for us, it's just deciding with their help, like talking to them, understanding what's going on for them, what is really important to them, and helping them to recognize where certain skills they might not love having to learn, but we
Yeah.
know are essential. They really do need to know it. Um, like just at least understanding the language of maths, like we really do have to get a good grounding in it because you're going to need to be able to budget, get a mortgage, pay your bills, go shopping. Like you are going to need to be able to understand them to some description, but not, again, not to the point of being able to do trigonometry and all the rest of it if necessary. Just being frank, like we don't necessarily need to know all these things. Like we will get to them if they need them. Um, so yeah, I think it can be really, really tricky sometimes to just accept this. It's a really difficult mindset to get to, and as I say, I'm 4 or 5 years in now, and I'm finally starting to get my head around it. It's taken a long time because it doesn't
Mm.
feel normal, does it? It's not something that feels natural to us. Like knowing the same as everybody else, having the same standards as everybody else is what we were trained to think is the most important. That's what our childhood
Yeah.
looked like.
Yeah. And I was reading this thing that it applies, it was explained in the context of parenting, but I think it applies to home education as well, which is like you can be the best parent, like you could be the perfect parent, basically. If you if you read a book that was speaking to you in terms of that particular parenting style and you followed it to a T perfectly, had every perfect response to every situation that arose, um, you still could not direct your child to the behavior you wanted because there are no perfect children. So even if you're the perfect parent, which I think like a lot of parents, that's what they strive for, especially new parents, right? And then we quickly learn that that's
Yeah.
impossible. But um, you cannot ever direct them in that way because there's no perfect child and you can't control for that.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so I think that applies to home education as well. Like you were saying, we can give them every opportunity, we can expose them to every subject, every learning that we think is important. We can bring the horse to water, but we can't make them drink. We can't make them like it. We can't make them, want to learn more about it if they're just not interested. And so while I think that exposure and in some ways we do have to push them, and like you were saying, there are certain things that we know as members of society in
Hmm.
our experience are necessary.
Hmm.
Not everything is that way, and so we just have to kind of be aware of it and understand that,
Yeah.
there's no perfect homeschool student. So,
No, yeah. And I think it's also kind of recognizing when we are seeing resistance, when we're trying to get our kids to come and do something and they're going, no, oh, I don't want to, and they're having a strop and they're wandering off, or you're really struggling with them, it's sitting and going, okay, observing right now, not getting mad, not getting annoyed with them for not committing or for being respectful or whatever it is, like as easy as like I hear myself, okay, so I do I get that that's easier said than done. But it's recognizing even if it's in the aftermath, even if it's like weeks later, you're sat like puzzling it and being like, why is it that every single time I ask my kid to come and do writing, they have a massive, like, wobbly about it and refuse to do it. What is it that they don't like about it? And I mean, in our case, it's recognizing that my son, um, who's now diagnosed autistic, actually his fine motor skills are really, really hard for him. Like using cutlery is hard, using a pen is hard, coloring's hard. Like he has got no patience for it. Clearly, the strength and the dexterity in his fingers is not something which is a high skill for him. So actually, every time I've asked him to do some writing, although he's capable of recognizing the letters, his spelling's pretty good, like all the things, he's actually finding it really hard to physically put pen to paper. And so for us, it's actually recognizing that there is a real reason why that isn't fun for him right now, and helping him therefore to like do the research and understand how we can help him to develop his fine motor skills so that it isn't so stressful. And so it's not this kind of concept of trust the process isn't often completely backing off and not touching it and having nothing to do with it. It will always be an element of observation, recognizing what kind of
mm-hmm.
support they need. And if there is no need for any support, if they genuinely are just flying with something like the snakes thing, they are totally immersed, interested in it, it's going where it's going. You could say that he will learn everything that he wants to know and needs to know about snakes without anybody ever saying a word. But if I was to go and get him an opportunity to handle some snakes, if I was to and to help him find a new book to read, like we did at the rainforest place, if I all these little tipped points, these little just a little something placed in front of him, another opportunity to take it further, or like this morning, showing him a bit more in depth how to Google and how to search for more information and to look for images of different types of snakes or whatever. Just all these different moments of just showing them little skills and encouraging them to kind of pursue that a bit further, and then backing off and just not pushing it. It's not We're not saying you have to, but just here you go, just in case you're interested. There's another way of learning about it. And actually, it is intrinsic and it stays intrinsic, and he's doing what he wants to do with it and he's taking it where it goes. But actually,
Mm-hmm.
I know that he wouldn't go anywhere near as far if it wasn't for the gentle nudges, the gentle support, the bits of information being
Yes.
placed in the inspiration. And so we do play a huge part, but you need to kind of understand when, like, a lot of the time people will congratulate us one day, or we'll be worried that somebody, something nightmare that I had the other week where I had someone being like, so they're 18 years old and they've got no GCSEs and they're not going to university and he plays video games all day. Are you pleased with your decision to home educate? So they feel like a bit of cold sweat.
You know what? If my
So
kid's
it's like,
happy, yes.
Yeah, because literally it took so long for me to talk myself down from that and being like, no, no, it's okay, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like, why are you scaring yourself? It's so bad. It's like, no,
Oh,
of
that's
course I'm
funny.
just gonna video games all day. Like, they're great, they're doing fantastic things. But anyway, even if they were, it's video games are the future, frankly. Like, we literally will be living in a video game, I think, at some point. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway, just really made me laugh. I was like, I have no control. Like, their life is their life, and I have no control over this. All I can do
Mm,
is offer opportunity, which is exactly what we're doing. And showing them the enthusiasm for learning intrinsically is 100% the way to be, because the more we're enthused about stuff, the more places we'll
the
go.
better.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'm always learning as an adult, and so I'm hoping that that will show them that always learning is the way to be, that that is what life is supposed to look like. Um, but anyway, we digress. But the point is that you are allowed to fret about it. If that's the process, you're going to fret sometimes, but just trust that actually this phrase, trust the process, this is a phrase used by people who have seen and had the
Yeah.
opportunity to observe their children getting past a hurdle that they never thought they would. And
Yeah.
they're trying to say to you, as stressed as you are about it now, you can still plan. You can still support them. You can still inspire them. You can still do all the things, but
Yeah.
trust that it will one day stop being a problem and you will suddenly see that they're flying and it's fine. Um, and yes, okay, this is spoken from a place of privilege. I appreciate people with children with like severe learning difficulties and disabilities and things who might be listening.
Of course.
You might
Yeah.
be wanting to punch me in the face right now. And so I know that some things, obviously, within the remit of what they are capable of and what is important to them and what will help them to thrive in their own way, they will get to where they get. And they will get there. So it's just having some faith that people develop and things change and that we can just continue to do our best and support them and love them, and it will be fine. It will all get there in the end. Get
Yes.
to a place of happiness at some point. So yeah, just trust everything a little bit more. Hopefully that's been useful for you guys. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Ashley, before I wrap us up?
No, I think we've kind of exhausted it, but it's an important topic because it'll keep revisiting throughout your home education process.
God, yeah, literally
Yeah.
daily, I think, to be honest.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, everyone, for listening. As always, we will be back every Sunday now for about sort of 10 or 12 weeks with another episode. I will be touching again on the bill in the next couple of episodes and just sort of saying where it's at. It's been a complicated process. I know that a lot of us are very worried about it right now. And I won't get into it too much right now because I need to kind of brush up again on exactly the stages in it. But from what I understand, it is all still going through the motions. It is going through all of its stages still. Fingers crossed at some point it will just disappear off the roster and we'll never see it again, but we
Mm,
can't promise
yes.
that one. So we'll see what happens. But continue to get your information from places like Education Otherwise, people who are not kind of inciting you into any kind of sort of silly behaviors. Let's just keep it very, very sensible. Concentrate on the facts. Get some information from people who know what they're talking about and who actually have sort of lawyers and people who are constantly working on trying to
Hmm.
get this thrown out. Because there are some people out there who are kind of encouraging people to stop communicating with their local authorities or stop sending reports and all the rest of it. And honestly, um, if we start to antagonize local authorities at the same time as trying to get them to trust us and to understand that we don't need more authority over us, we are going to end up with more issues than good. So
Yeah.
keep it respectful, keep it polite. They're just people doing their jobs, same as we are doing ours. Um, but I will certainly kind of try and get you some more information for the next one as to where it's at and what's actually happening and what else you can be doing. But for now, it's mostly just keep up to speed with it best you can. Keep writing to your MPs, keep asking them to care. Um, and fingers crossed, we will continue with the people, the lawyers that are fighting it will actually get us to keep our rights, basically. Um, but yeah, definitely some interesting conversations to come about that. So stay
Yeah.
tuned. But thanks again for tuning back in, and I hope you're all enjoying the sunshine. So let's get on and start enjoying our Easter now. Be great. All right, guys. Good night. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.